Hi there. Sorry for being 3 minutes late. Just struggling with the settings. So I hope you guys can hear me. Please let me know if you can't in the comments, but I'm going to get started. So good morning. Good morning. I'm Janet Goron and I'm the founder of Tribe Sober. And today I'm going to talk about how we go from liking alcohol to wanting alcohol to needing alcohol. Because it's almost inevitable that if we drink regularly for 20 years, then we are going to become dependent. And 20 years might sound a long time, but really it's only from the age of 20 to the age of 40. So trust me, those of us that are a bit older will tell you that that time it passes in the blink of an eye. So I want to give you an analogy. It's a great analogy. I've stolen it from Ken Middleton, who is our guest at the member Zoom Cafe this afternoon. So I must give him a credit. But his analogy: imagine you train daily on a bike, just a normal bike, and we see lots of it here in Cape Town. They're going up the hills, down the hills, and it's really strong and good exercise, and your leg muscles obviously getting extremely strong. So imagine you're doing that for a few years. You're a guy, in your 30s, and then for your 40th birthday, the wife buys you an electric bike and she's very pleased about this present, and you know pretty pleased and excited as well. So you switch to using the electric bicycle for a few years, and you're doing the same route, but somehow you're not using your leg muscles anymore, are you? So what will happen in time is that your leg muscles will actually atrophy, and you'll lose all that muscle that you've built up. And that's what happens over the years with alcohol. When you've been relying on alcohol for years to make you feel good, you're going to lose the ability to feel happy without it. I mean, how scary is that? So, I guess what I want to say is don't feel guilty if you've become addicted to alcohol, if you've become dependent on alcohol. It's just the normal result of taking an addictive drug for years. You've become addicted. It's science. And there is a way out of it, of course. And if you're not a member of Tribe Sober, then come join our tribe and we'll guide you through that process. But for today, I just want to delve into the science, behind how you go from liking to wanting to needing, because it's actually pretty interesting. So the first thing you need to understand, excuse me, looking at my notes, it's quite complicated to remember all this. But the first thing you need to understand is that our brains like to stay in balance. It's called homeostasis. Now, when we drink, we have an endorphin spike, and that's what feels like a buzz. It feels nice. That's why we like drinking, and the blood sugar is related to that as well. So our brain, it doesn't actually like this spike because it's not normal. It's taken us out of balance. It's taken us out of homeostasis. So what our brain then wants to do is calm all this down a bit. It's thinking, oh, let's calm her down. Let's get her back to normal. So the brain releases a hormone which is called dynorphin. So I like to think of endorphin and dynorphin as kind of opposites. So the brain releases dynorphin, and that calms it all down and it recreates the balance that our brain likes to be in. So an evening of drinking, it'll go something like this. I'll have a drink, I'll get my endorphin spike, nice buzz, and then it'll fade away because, as research has shown us quite recently, the buzz that we feel, it only lasts for 20 minutes, and then we feel kind of flat again. In fact, we feel a little bit lower than when we started drinking. So of course, if you're a drinker, what do? You go and get another drink because you're chasing the buzz. You want that buzz to last all evening. And I think that's why some of us say, well, I just don't have an off switch once I start. So we have another drink, we get another spike, and then the brain comes in and dumps another lot of dynorphin on. I like to think of the dynorphin as the kind of fire brigade. So you've got a fire with the endorphin spike, the flames are there, the buzz is there, and then the fire brigade come along and they chuck a bucket of water on that spike, you know, which is the dynorphin, calming it all down. So the sad thing is for us drinkers that the dynorphins will win out in the end, because every time the dynorphin is released to counteract that endorphin, it actually brings you a little bit lower than you were in the first place. So eventually, and this used to happen to me a lot, you end your evening in tears over nothing. You know, why am I crying? I don't know. I just feel like crying. That's because the fire brigade chucked so much water on it that it's coming out your eyes. Well, it's not quite true, but it's a good analogy there. And if you don't end up in tears like I used to, you might wake up at 3 a.m. with that despair fest, as I used to call it, you know, just feeling really low, or the morning, the hangover, the low mood, etc. So that's the bad news. The dynorphins will win out in the end. So now you know about endorphins, the spike, the fire, and the dynorphins, the water, to dampen it all down. Let's look at reasons why we become dependent. So reason 1, when we drink, we get an endorphin spike which releases dopamine. Now most people understand that dopamine is maybe the pleasure hormone, we call it, don't we, sometimes? But these days the scientists are calling dopamine the learning molecule, because not only does it make us feel good when we drink, but it also registers and learns everything that is happening around us when we're drinking. So for example, imagine that you drink in the same bar every evening, you're listening to the same kind of music with your usual drinking buddies, and it's the same atmosphere. Well, your brain, the dopamine will learn that that's nice, that that's what you like. And that's why we get triggered. So imagine that we walk home past our favourite bar and we think, okay, I'm taking a break from booze for a few weeks, so I won't go in the bar. And you're really determined, but you walk past and you'll really probably feel triggered to go in the bar because of the dopamine, because the dopamine has learned that being in that place makes you feel good. So already we've now moved from just liking a bit of wine because we like the taste, to actually wanting to go into the bar and drink some. And then another reason, as you go on, it gets a little bit more serious. And another reason is that our brains then go on to actually anticipate those triggers. So for example, if it's your habit, as it was mine, to open the wine at 6 o'clock in the evening, your brain will start getting excited. The dopamine will be released from 5 o'clock onwards because you're looking forward to your drink at 6 o'clock. So your clever brain, the fire brigade, they start thinking, uh-oh, she's going to start drinking at 6 o'clock. Her brain's going to be all over the place. So let's anticipate, let's counteract in advance and dampen it all down. So they chuck their water on and it's all damp, and what's that creating, of course, is a low. So if you have your drink at 6, then you know you'll counteract that low, and that's why very often the first drink, you know, we're longing for it, and then we have it and you know, that's better, that's my reward I've been anticipating. But the trouble is, if you don't have a drink at 6 because you've on sober spring or you've taken a break from the booze, then you'll have a real craving. You'll feel low because you've gone from just liking to just wanting to actually physically needing. And it gets worse. I'm giving you lots of bad news this morning, but don't worry, join Tribe Sober, we'll sort you out. But it gets worse. Consistent drinking for years actually rewires our brains, And personally, it was only when I finally realized that my brain was being affected from all this drinking that I managed to quit because I was terrified. So, the consistent drinking rewires our brains to stop producing natural dopamine, which means that we can't even enjoy everyday pleasures anymore. By everyday pleasures, I mean seeing our non-drinking friends, going out on a hike or playing with the dog or the kids. It's just all a bit flat and boring. And even that, only and that's because only alcohol will give us that high, and that's the only thing that we crave in the end. Because and you'll find, if you know any real alcoholics, their world is very small, because they don't want anything else apart from alcohol related activities. And eventually even that doesn't work, and we'll need alcohol just to feel normal, and nobody wants to go down that route. So many of us at Tribe Sober, me included, have gone through that kind of flatness, that lack of dopamine in early sobriety. And we've talked about it quite openly. We've given it a name. We discovered that the lack of joy is called anhedonia. And we've been advising people, well, you might feel a bit flat, but just, hang in there and it will improve. But because I met Dr. Loretta Broining and interviewed her on my podcast, episode 55, if you're interested in this brain stuff, I've learned that we don't actually have to put up with it. So we've changed the advice that we give to people that are stuck in that anhedonia place in early sobriety. I'll give you my personal example from the discussion that I had with her on that podcast. So I said to her, because she wrote this book called The Happy Brain, and I said to her, can you explain to me why, I was okay in my first couple of months of sobriety, and then I felt really depressed, and, I spent 3 months really thinking, if this is sobriety, I'm not sure I can make it. What a grey, miserable, flat place this is. But she explained to me, she said, okay, so that lasted a few months, and then what happened? And I said, well, gradually I just got out of it. But she questioned me more, specifically. And when I really reflected, I realized that I got out of that place when I had the idea to set up Tribe Sober. And she said, well, that was the key. You had a project. And Tribe Sober was a huge project, obviously, but I had to break it down into mini steps. I had to learn how to do a website, do some marketing, set up a membership, etc., etc. I had to learn all these little steps, and every time I achieved something and achieved that goal, I felt good, and the happy chemicals were triggered, the dopamine was triggered. So that was the key. So do listen to that podcast, episode 55. And when you quit drinking, if you are in that flat place, then make sure that you've got a project. And that's why we've designed our membership program around 2 steps, really. We want you to quit drinking, and then we want you to learn to thrive in your alcohol-free life. And you have to do the work in order to thrive. So we guide you on a 7-step journey, and we've put, I think it's 21 features in there, lots of different ideas, different things that you can do and explore and learn about. It's a voyage of self-discovery, and you have to do the work, but that's how you learn to thrive. And having projects is a great way to do that. So talking of Loretta, she's going to be running a session for Tribe Sober members on Tuesday the 19th at 5 o'clock South African time. And based on this idea, she's going to ask people who come to that session to present their projects to her. So if you want to attend the session, we're not asking you for money, we're asking you to do the work. So we want you to read her book. It's not a long book. Well, The Happy Brain is a long book, but she's put a short book on the Slack channel. It's called 14 Days to Sustainable Happiness. So read that book. email me at janet@tribesober.com and tell me the 6 points that resonated with you from that book. So thank you to those of you that have done it. So I've got a deadline for you, which is by Monday morning. So everyone that has emailed me by Monday morning with those points, I'll be sending out the Zoom link for you to come and spend some time with Loretta. So, you know, it's incredibly kind of her to give us this time. She's just so passionate about what she does. It's great. So, I think I'm pretty much there. Just finally, I want to give a shout out to Ken Middleton, because this stuff that I really like, you know, this science, I learnt it from him. I discovered him on Medium. We both write for Medium. I read a fabulous article by him on this, which I'm going to post in the comments. I interviewed him on the podcast. It's episode 23. So he's got a really deep understanding of this stuff and plenty of other content to do with sobriety. So he's our guest at the member Zoom Cafe. He'll be there at 4:30, so don't be late. He's going to do his talk from 4:30 onwards. And if you have any questions around this science, then please, you know, bring them along. We'll get him to tell his story, to talk a bit about the science. And if you're watching this and you're not a Tribe Sober member, then you can email me, janet@tribesober.com, and I'll send you the Zoom link. You can come as a guest to the Zoom Cafe, or you might even feel like signing up as a member right now, which means that you go to tribesober.com and hit join our tribe. Okay, guys, so that's it. I'm going to read my comments now. Thank you for those people that are watching live. So thank you, Roz. You can hear me. And where is the wanting? Yeah, the wanting. Yeah, the fire brigade. Yes, that's my personal analogy. That's not Ken's. So I'm pleased with that one. Yeah, the new neural pathway is gone. Yeah, Loretta is brilliant. Yeah, please read the book, Natasha, and come and join us on, what is it, Tuesday? Okay, guys, it's time I went off to have my coffee. So if any of you are around at 2 o'clock, watch that kind of American thing that I'm doing. No idea what it's going to be like, but I got an invite, so I just thought, oh, well, I'll say yes to that one. It's going to be fun, if nothing else. And of course, I'll see you at the Zoom Cafe. Bye, guys. Oh, hi, Sue. I just saw you're there. You nearly forgot. How can you nearly forget? Okay, see you later, guys.